And welcome in to another episode of Too Many Points on the Tell Me More podcast. I'm your host, Mac Moore, here again with a bunch of the same faces. As you can tell, I do not have friends. So it's Marco Marquez, it's Justin Pemberton, and back from the dead, we got Bobby G once again. We'll just start with Bobby. We know how everybody else is doing. They've been here recently. Bobby, how's it going? Did you survive the endless work hours during the month of December?
Yep, and then I went home for vacation and immediately got quarantined, so it was awesome.
And that is was quarantine like the end of 2020 or the beginning of 2021?
Beginning of 2021, I got quarantined the day after Christmas.
Man, so they showed you pretty quickly that things weren't going to get better just because we had to buy a new calendar. So that's good. That's a good way to see that the world does not change, and it was not 2020's fault. It's all of our faults. We got to get better at this thing called life. But we're going to get started. We're going to talk about NFL action because while a lot of terrible things have happened, and we don't talk about most of those things on this podcast, some good things happen. Like sometimes you expand the playoffs, and while Bobby's seems to be against it in college football based on our conversation before coming onto the pod today, I'm hoping he's not dumb enough to try to challenge the expansion of the NFL because he's going to probably be on an island. This last weekend was the best weekend, and just looking at the games, it wasn't about the games. There weren't a bunch of great games. There were a few good ones. The bad ones found a way to be interesting. But the main thing is football is awesome. And when you can wake up, start watching a game at noon, and you're not done until 10 o'clock at night, and then the next day, the same thing happens again. It's the best weekend ever. I'm glad they expanded to it. I wouldn't say keep expanding. I don't want them to just constantly have games. I don't want this to become soccer or something. I'm up at 3 a.m. But right now, this almost seems like the perfect weekend. And I'm kind of scared for next weekend when we're back down to just having 4 games. I don't know if it'll be nearly as enjoyable, but I enjoyed it, and I don't know whether to do this the smart way with knowing that Bobby will hit us with the home run at the end and put him at the end, or if I should just start with where I want to go, and then I want to see Marco and Justin's reactions because I kind of know how they feel about it. I'll just start with Bobby. I'll get us pushed in the right direction because this is we need a drum roll. I don't know what Bobby's opinion is on this. He's got that bullshit smirk on his face. Bobby, how did you feel about Super Wildcard weekend?
You know what? The only hot take I have is that I don't want the Super Bowl on any other channel but Nickelodeon for the years in the future.
Yes.
If I don't have SpongeBob graphics telling me why Patrick Mahomes beat the 49ers or whatever it will be, I don't care about it anymore. We've reached nirvana. You can't take it back. You've shown us behind the curtain of Wizard of Oz. You can't put it back up. That's the only hot take I have. Also, not even a hot take, but Lamar Jackson, fantastic running back.
All right, so we will get to Bobby's ridiculousness about on-the-field stuff in a second. But in terms of the Nickelodeon thing, I think that's interesting. I don't know if they'll ever do it again after the nice F-bomb that was delivered crystal clear. You couldn't hear the ref, but you heard that F-bomb, every little syllable. Like, loved it. Loved having that on Nickelodeon. And I didn't actually look to see how they explained that away on the broadcast, but I assume Noah Eagle did a great job. I bet Nate Burleson had no idea what to do. So it was very interesting to have that on there. I actually didn't get to watch the broadcast. It's gonna be on NFL Network as a rerun. This is the first time I got to see the in-laws coming over. Like I haven't seen them pretty much throughout most of the pandemic, and we found a way to watch the games together. Her dad's like 80. I didn't want to have to figure out what his reaction would be to watching an NFL game on Nickelodeon. So I was like, I'll watch it by myself later. Like I'll figure out all this stuff. But it was good to go on Twitter, and if Twitter's any indication, everybody watched the Nickelodeon broadcast because everything that was being retweeted, whether it was just to make a Nickelodeon joke or it was to actually talk analysis, you saw the slime, you saw all the logos, you saw SpongeBob. Like that was the only way that NFL Twitter was consuming that game on Sunday. Marco, how'd you feel? You can talk about Nickelodeon. You can just talk about what it's like having 6 playoff games and just being NFL action from dusk till dawn every day. Like it's dawn till dusk, but I don't care. It was amazing. What did you think about the NFL action this weekend?
talking professional football all day for 2 straight days. It felt like the opening weekend for March Madness. And it was kind of nice that you don't have to change it back and forth to other games to keep an eye on. You can watch the whole game right there in front of you. I liked it. I enjoyed it. I think it's an excellent way to promote Wild Card Weekend. Because like we talked about before the show, you had a 7-2 game between the Saints and Bears, or was it the Saints? Yeah, they were the 7-2 between the Saints and Bears, and it was not enjoyable football. But the fact that you had it through Nickelodeon still made it an enjoyable broadcast with the use of productions. The pregame show I commend, because the fact that you go top 40 SpongeBob moments and not even have to do anything NFL related, and you're still attracting an audience, it's amazing. But other than that, I thought the rest of the football games were competitive. We got to see a Browns team come out and unleash on the Steelers and a prove it game. We got to see Lamar Jackson on the road, kind of redemption for the Ravens against the Titans. It really sets up it did a great job for its first time around, setting up what looks like it's going to be an exciting divisional round game.
I agree 100%. Justin, how do you feel about that weekend of football?
So I'm with you guys. This was the best playoff weekend ever, because when you include the Cleveland Browns, who have not been to the playoffs, since 2002, and the fact they get their first road playoff win since the year the Chiefs won their first Super Bowl, 1969. I mean, that's incredible too. It was so awesome to watch the Browns just absolutely pummel the Steelers. And look, I have respect for Pittsburgh because I have friends that are Steelers fans, so I'm not going to totally trash on the Steelers, but it was awesome to see Cleveland finally, come through and kind of, in their drought, and to see them be real for the first time in quite some time was so awesome. Yes, all the SpongeBob stuff was pretty funny. I actually watched a little bit of the top 40 SpongeBob moments. That was pretty cool. I did see the video of Sean Payton get slimed afterwards. That was pretty cool as well. So quite interesting, even though it was quite interesting to see games being on multiple networks. I know ESPN, when they did their game with the Titans and Ravens, it was on ESPN2 and ESPN News, and it was on Freeform, which is another Disney ESPN family network. It used to be ABC Family. I don't know why they changed it to Freeform, but that's whatever.
Yeah, it seems like bad marketing. That's going in the wrong direction.
Just keep it ABC Family, which actually originally was Fox Family. If you guys didn't know that a long time ago.
That's better marketing, moving away from it being Fox. I'll start with just a quick thing on the ESPN thing. I love ESPN having the multiple broadcasts. And apparently Bobby didn't know that existed until I showed him my cool new mega desk that I'm putting together over at my place, trying to watch 8 games at one time. If you go on ESPN and you look on there, particularly streaming, because I'm not sure how often they always have them on either ESPN2 or the other cable channels, but when you're on ESPN3 streaming and you're trying to look for those games, it's almost always better the other broadcasts that they have. If they have one of the film rooms, particularly, like, that's the best way to watch football, is have guys who know what they're talking about, being more focused on breaking down the action than just trying to explain what's happening on the screen, in the traditional way. I've enjoyed those, and I'm glad they have those. But in terms of getting into the on the field action, it was close there. I think Bobby almost baited me with the Lamar Jackson running back thing, but I think twice got brought up. The Cleveland Browns, I think that's the most fresh in our mind. That was the most recent game, and it was just the biggest. I know I cheered each time Big Ben threw an interception. That was a big moment. That was, I think, very fun for a lot of us. I do want to start with that game because I think there are a lot of questions, and the first thing I got to ask Bobby is, does practice matter? If you guys can't have the Browns practice, Stefanski can't even be at the game. They have to teach the plays through Zoom. I don't want you to go into a full Allen Iverson rant here, but Bobby, does practice matter?
See, I'm not even going to go talk about practice. I'm going to be talking about the Steelers, because the Steelers don't matter. They were the biggest frauds of the year, and they got exposed by the Browns, who tried to choke it away. And the best part about it was, for me, is like, I don't care about the game. I don't care about the score. I care about Chase Claypool going on whatever stream he does and talk about how the Browns are going to get clapped by the Steelers. By the Chiefs. That's true. But the Steelers just got clapped by the Browns. Do you know how historically embarrassing that is? I mean, it's just fantastic. The memes are fantastic. I was probably the one person rooting for Cleveland to blow that lead just so I could have some Atlanta Falcons memes. But we all know honestly that Baker has zero chance against Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. The spread's 10. I mean, good for the Cleveland Browns, but let me put my mansion on the Chiefs and make some more money.
Now I'm scared because Bobby putting money on the Chiefs is a bad sign. I don't like that at all.
Is that a reverse jinx?
I'm just saying. I'm a little worried now. The point is, watching that game, watching Big Ben throw those interceptions. I wonder how much you talk about like the Steelers getting clapped. How much was it just Big Ben getting clapped? Like I without Big Ben, like if Nate Sudfeld is the quarterback of the Steelers in that game, I think the Browns win. But it's not like as embarrassing as it was going down 28 in the first quarter. The only reason they're down 28 is Big Ben. You can say it on the defense, and that's where I want to give credit to the Browns for when they got the ball, they scored. A lot of the time starting in the red zone, like that's a free touchdown, but a lot of teams, they get too conservative. Like, oh, we already got it. Doesn't matter. We can get a field goal. That's a dumb way to think. The Browns stayed aggressive, and right. I think that was one of the big things when we talk about coaching, which I think the thing is Big Ben looked awful, and then by the end of the game, Mike Tomlin looked awful. With having not being aggressive, and we'd already seen it. We were already pretty aware to watch out for just cowardly punts after the Titans game, but like watching that one for the Steelers where they are at midfield, they punt it, and the Browns, who are up 28, realize, hey, guess what? We are going to go for it in the same situation. Like it should be the exact opposite. You know, like if you're going to have a team that's trying to be conservative, it should be the team that has that advantage. If you're down 28, everything's on the table. Whatever you need to do to get back in. Because, you know, if it's Big Ben chucking bombs and he doesn't have the arm to do it anymore, that's a better option than punting the ball away. Because you have to do whatever it takes to win. At that point, there should be no pressure on you being down 28-0 because the game's over. And any chance you have of winning is doing some crazy shit. So go for it. And instead to punt in those situations, and I think it's just never punt. I don't even think it's like about the game, the score. Go for it because the numbers tell you that. And I think just trusting your team to not suck, because that's the only reason you punt there is I know my offense is so bad, they can't even get 3 yards, even 30% of the time. So I don't trust them to do it. I think that it's a defeatist attitude. And after a whole weekend of hearing announcers talk about chasing points as if they don't understand how football works, where chasing points is a good thing. You want to score more points in your team. I hate seeing something like that from Mike Tomlin, who otherwise always has a good team. Maybe situational football is not quite Mike Tomlin's specialty. Marco, what did you think of the Steelers game and the Browns? Just looking from a Chiefs perspective, are you concerned about the Browns, or was this just much more about the Steelers being a flawed team despite starting the season 11-0?
I think more or less kind of worried about this Browns because they're going to have their head coach back Sunday, hopefully. No COVID over there.
Positive?
Yeah, Adam Schefter. That's you're very right about that. But they also they're getting their cornerbacks back as well if COVID stays out of Cleveland. So more or less, not as worried about the Browns. I think the Steelers were a flawed team. You go 11-0, and then you finish the season with 5 losses. The Browns got in their heads, man. Dude, they went out there, and the reason they were going for it late is because they knew their defense could stop Big Ben in the Steelers offense because they had shown it from the first snap. Or I guess I'm saying the first snap, but they showed it in the first quarter when Big Ben was throwing interceptions. So it's one of those things. The Steelers, they got down late, and they're a team that had some good comebacks in the regular season, but this Browns team they showed offensively that they were not going to back down, that they were going to continue to stomp on the necks. And that's why they kept the ball in Baker Mayfield's hands, who deserves all the praise in the world for this game, because one thing that I've stressed about the Browns is that you don't want to put the game into Baker Mayfield's hands because he can create turnovers. He won't get your third down conversions. And he proved all the haters wrong in this one. I know he had that stretch during the regular season of touchdown interception ratio where it was looking nice. But, man, when he showed in the playoffs on the road against the Steelers, the Browns are a real team. Yes, they're going to be coming in and playing against the number 1 seed. But this is a team that went on the road. They proved their worth, and they proved what kind of team they're going to be in the playoffs. You definitely cannot go into this game wanting to make mental mistakes, which we have seen the Chiefs make sometime. Yes, they finished the season 7. They went on that 7-game winning streak, but in those games were some mental lapses. And I'm very curious to see what kind of Chiefs team we're going to see coming out early, especially in early parts of the game.
Yeah, I agree. I think as much as I want to just believe the Steelers are bad, the things that the Browns did, obviously getting that help of Big Ben throwing the interceptions, put them up. But even watching them be able to run the ball, to see that Baker Mayfield had moments where they took a step back in that game, but he also came through by the end. And we're seeing that more and more where Baker Mayfield, I think the number one thing I brought up at the beginning of the year is not whether he turns himself into an elite QB. I think it's pretty apparent that that's not a likely scenario.
Yeah.
On the other hand, he didn't look confident. And that's the main thing Baker Mayfield brings to the table. Even if he's playing within himself, not making mistakes, he needs to play confident. And that's not what he was doing early. It's what he's doing late. And that'll help that team do just enough. And the defense is playing really well. So if you're going to have a chance to stop Patrick Mahomes, you need a pass rush. And they have that in spades. So there's always the chance for the Browns. Now, would I put money on them? Hell no. Would I put my house on the Chiefs winning? I don't have a house. So maybe. We'll see. We'll start with Justin for the next game, though. I want to go and talk. I want to talk about the Bills, because that, for me, is the team I'm probably the most scared of facing. When I look at the teams, I felt that way going in. I was glad that the way it worked out, they end up being the number 2, so that they wouldn't be the team that if they go on, they can face the Chiefs in that first round. I don't know what happens, because if the Ravens are good enough to beat the Bills, then it all of a sudden becomes like, now I'm scared of the Ravens a bit, because, what it would take for the Ravens to win would mean they're playing the type of way that I don't want the Chiefs to face either. But I think without a doubt, just knowing that Josh Allen can play the way that he played, and at any given time, the Bills can be in a game with Patrick Mahomes and try to go shot for shot in a big shootout, I think that's more scary to me in terms of who I'd rather face. I'd rather face a Ravens team that the Chiefs have continually owned every time they face them, knowing that if the Ravens get up, I mean, yeah, they can start running out the clock. They have a defense, but Patrick Mahomes can try to score to come back against a Ravens team. If the Ravens are down, I don't think the Titans win. I don't think that comeback makes me think that they're any more capable of having those comebacks than they were before. I think they're playing great right now. They're playing smart. They're playing their type of football. I think the best thing you could take away from the Titans is when they're down, they're smart enough now to still play through the same offense. They're not going to change it up. They're not just going to send Lamar Jackson back there to chuck it down the field, because it turned into an interception pretty quickly, and it just set them back, and it took them longer to get back into that game. But from there, they said, hey, we're going to play our football, because we know that over the next 2.5 quarters, we will get back in the game and we'll beat this Titans team. And they did it. I don't know if that tells me anything about them trying to keep up with Patrick Mahomes. So right now I'm scared of the Bills, and it's not even so much about what they did, because the Colts stayed with them. I've seen people argue that Bills game, it's like if they were scared going in, they're not as scared now for what the Bills could do in a game against the Chiefs. But I do know what Josh Allen has done over the last 6 weeks, and that scares me. That is the thing I don't want the Chiefs to face in the conference championship game. So starting with Justin, are you scared of Josh Allen at all? Are you scared of the Bills as a possible team for the Chiefs to have to go through in the conference championship game?
I'm scared more of the Ravens. I'm scared more of facing Lamar Jackson. I don't want to face his running ability. And yes, the Chiefs have a better defense than Tennessee, but I'd rather take my chances with the Bills.
Bobby, you shook your head just as fast as I shook mine. Which team do you think is the bigger threat to the Chiefs? I mean, obviously, you've already put your house on the Browns winning, so we don't have to go through the whole if the Chiefs win thing. You've already put them up into the conference championship game. Which team should the Chiefs be more concerned about facing in the conference championship game?
I put my money on the Chiefs -10 for clarification.
Okay.
And that's what they are right now, 10-point favorites.
Yeah, I think this is a scenario where the Bills aren't afraid of anyone. The Chiefs should be afraid of the Bills. The Bills came in a hotter team than the Chiefs. Let's be honest. Patrick Mahomes has looked a little bit off for the past couple weeks.
Agreed.
I'm sure Andy Reid's going to have it figured out. But there is no way, say or how, that you can say with a straight face that the Chiefs came in hotter than the Buffalo Bills. It just isn't true.
No.
I mean, Josh Allen has been on fire. Stephon Diggs has been uncoverable. We all know what Andy Reid and the Chiefs can do. I'm not saying that the Chiefs are just going to come out and, absolutely die against the Cleveland Browns. But I think right now the Buffalo Bills are the hottest team. And if I'm a Chiefs fan, I am absolutely praying that somehow Lamar Jackson is able just to run the whole game and he doesn't have to throw it at all. Because that's the perfect scenario for the Chiefs as they play the Ravens.
Marco, it seemed like you maybe took offense a little bit to the idea that the Bills were clearly the hotter team than the Chiefs. I'll let you jump in and add on to what Bobby just said.
Well, clearly, yeah, the Bills are the hottest team. But is that because they are a team, or is it because they have the hottest quarterback in the league right now? And that's Josh Allen. Yes, he's playing at a
hottest quarterback and receiver.
Hottest quarterback and receiver. Thank you. Yeah, hottest quarterback and receiver with Allen and Diggs. Watching the wild card game, it made me against the Colts. It made me less scared and worried about this Bills team because there are still ways that you can make Josh Allen uncomfortable. And the Chiefs with Steve Spagnuolo, he knows his defense is meant for making quarterbacks uncomfortable. So if I'm the Chiefs, I want to play the Bills because worst case scenario, you get into a shootout with Josh Allen in Buffalo. Well, hey, I'm all for a shootout because I know who the Chiefs have on their team and who they got at quarterback and what weapons they have. So it's kind of crazy to say because Lamar hasn't beat this Chiefs team yet. Jim Harbaugh hasn't beat this Chiefs team yet, and the Chiefs had the Ravens number. But my concern is it's the hottest team. The Ravens are the hottest team right now in the playoffs. We're not talking regular season. We're talking playoffs because of what they did, how they stopped Derrick Henry, held him to 40 yards. I just feel like the Chiefs don't want to go up against a team that's better at erasing time, of keeping the ball, holding on to the ball longer than the Bills, because that's how you beat this Chiefs team is getting the lead early and creating that and just owning the time of possession. That's what makes me scared about this Ravens team because they can keep your offense off the field. The Bills, you're just going to get into a shootout with them no matter what. So both teams, it's going to be there's ways that they can beat the Chiefs team, but right now I think it's the Ravens with the way that they're playing.
I want to say real quick to Marco, and Justin can jump in and go on either side of it. What tells you that the Chiefs are going to lose to a team that has ball control? Like, they've lost 2 games this year. One's a throwaway in the final week. One's the Raiders, who it was a shootout that the Raiders were epically hot and were never that way again the rest of the year. And it still was a 1-touchdown loss. Where are these teams that are beating the Chiefs by holding the ball, keeping it away? Every time we've seen that, Patrick Mahomes just runs right past them. He runs up the score. If they get an early lead, he storms back and takes it over. He beats these teams by 10-plus points. Where is this scenario? What games can you point to where that's how the Chiefs lost?
That's just this past year. That's just this past year. But yeah, you're right. You are absolutely right because Patrick Mahomes' legs have created ways to help the Chiefs convert on third downs. I just think going up against a Ravens team that can run the ball and pass the ball right now, it's just one of those things of ball control. Marco,
you could take your phone out, go look at last year, go find me the losses, and I'll go to Justin real fast. But the last 3 I remember from last year, I remember the 49ers. Oh, yeah, that's a double-digit that they came back and won by double digits.
Right.
They did the same thing.
Hey,
Houston. The last team, the one that seemed like they would be ball control, it was the Tennessee when they beat the Chiefs in the regular season. Another team that had to run up a 35-point score. That was not a ball control offense beating them. They had to be a high scoring offense. So I just don't know where that is. I've not seen that be way to beat a Chiefs team helmed by Patrick Mahomes.
That's gonna be the game plan for the Ravens, is to establish that run game, because the Tennessee Titans got up early on the Chiefs, but they continued to pass the ball, and the Chiefs were stopping Derrick Henry in that game. They took away the run game and put the game into Ryan Tannehill's hands. That's what I'm getting at with this Ravens team, is that they can get the ball, they can get the lead. If they get the lead early and establish the run game with Dobbins and Lamar and Gus, then something can be made. I think that case is better made than a Bills team going in and creating a shootout with the Chiefs. I just see the Ravens' chances better in the AFC Championship game if that's the matchup.
All right, so no evidence, just you feel like that could work better. Because even the Bills, their game plan was what you said in the first game facing the Chiefs. It didn't work. It failed. Now, you could say that was as close as you could get. That was one of the better games for a team keeping in it. And if Josh Allen at that time played better, if he was playing like the Josh Allen we see now. But I think once you have Josh Allen playing better, you don't make the same moves. You don't try that same game plan. I think with the way the Bills play, like, you come in, you have somebody as hot as Josh Allen, and you hope that you can go toe for toe and do what the Raiders did when they beat the Chiefs earlier this season. In terms of the Ravens, like, it could work, but you need them to have a pretty much perfect game. You need to stay aggressive the whole time. Don't think of it as ball control. The moment you're trying to run the clock out, no. But if you're a Ravens offense that's going to say Lamar Jackson in the next 4 drives, we're just going to run, but he's going to get you in that end zone, that can get you a victory, and you happen to control the ball a little bit more. But if you come in with that as a strategy, it has not worked. There's no evidence of that working against Patrick Mahomes. Go back the last 2 years. Didn't happen. I don't even know which one to go to. If anybody wants to jump in.
You can go to the AFC Championship game. You can go to the AFC Championship game against the Patriots. You can go up.
That was a 40-point game. They both scored 40, bro.
But if you look at time of possession, the Chiefs, go look at the time of possession. Go look at the time of the possession in each one of Patrick Mahomes' losses.
If you look at teams that win, they generally have the ball longer than teams that lose. But when you're talking about using time of possession as the way to stop a Patrick Mahomes team, none of them have done that. That's not what the Patriots did. The Patriots won by scoring every drive. It wasn't about holding the ball for however long. The Patriots just have an offense that is more methodical. That it was not about ball control. So when you point to that as the way, like, maybe 20 years ago that works, but not in today's NFL, and particularly not against Patrick Mahomes, who has beat every team that's tried that against him. That's all I'm saying, man. That's all I'm saying.
Hey, that's all right. No, that's fine.
Just using evidence. I like stats. I like proof.
I'm going to hop in here and agree with Mac's point that if you score more points in the NFL than the other team, you are going to win. But, Mac, we're skirting the issue here. We've gotten off topic. Mac, if Nate Sudfeld started over Ryan Tannehill, do the Titans win this game?
No. It's very clear that Tannehill is better than Ben Roethlisberger is. I think the biggest problem, though, is what I mean, I'm not going to just toot my own horn and point to what I've said all year, but it's that offense could be what the Browns are doing. Now, obviously, they don't have the same defense, so it's harder to expect them to be a run-first team. But when you need Tannehill to be the guy who's going to win it for you in clutch situations, I think that's the biggest problem. He has proven he can be an efficient quarterback at a very high level because he has put up top 5 numbers in that offense. That is with the benefit of Derrick Henry being a guy that you know that any given play can get 6 yards even if you have 8 people in the box. So it's a cheat code. But there have been other quarterbacks who have had a Derrick Henry type running back. They've had that kind of run game and they haven't delivered. And so just pretending like, well, anybody could do it. No, Nate Sudfeld can't do it. But Ryan Tannehill did it. He did it to a great ability. But the game came down to, can Tannehill make the play? He didn't. He made a mistake, and Titans go home. I think all year, that's what I pointed to. Now, it helped that, you know, the Titans had to go up against the Ravens, a tougher team than what the Steelers are right now. So that's why the Browns got their victory. But I'm just going to toot my own horn. I said at the beginning, Browns would go further than the Titans. We made a bet, and I'll have to go back to figure it out, but I'm pretty sure Justin owes me like 2 McRibs at least. I don't remember what the bet was. But this was the big one, boys, and I got it. Browns went further than the Titans. So I can just go home now. That's the end of the podcast. Bye, guys. Thanks for coming in.
See ya.
No, but looking at that, Bobby, did you have another point that I trampled over in terms of or did you just want the one-liner of Nate Sudfeld and just trying to tear down Ryan Tannehill?
Had the opportunity. I hope I lost you guys. Where are we?
Yeah, we lost you for a second.
Okay, I just wanted you to dunk on Ryan Tannehill. It was leading up to this all year, and I was like, we're not missing this opportunity.
And I don't even really want to dunk on Ryan Tannehill. I do think that the numbers suggest he's much better than anybody gave him credit for. I think that he definitely delivered. The problem is if we're talking about, I think I always end up going to the Bobby's favorite. If you're saying Alex Smith was a guy who never had the ability to take you to a Super Bowl, then Ryan Tannehill has to fit into the same camp despite the numbers. Now, if you look at it from my point of view, which is you build the rest of the team around it, and you just need a quarterback who is consistent and capable, and you need things to fall into place, which is what I still believe about Alex Smith. Like, I think those years in the Chiefs, if Justin Houston, Tamba Hali, D Ford, if that slew of pass rushers weren't injured every time you got to the playoffs and the defense performed like it did in the regular season, I think there is different outcomes in the playoffs as opposed to, oh, look, you can win in the regular season with a quarterback like this, but you can't win in the postseason. I think that's bullshit. I watched Nick Foles beat Bobby's team. I know that all you need is a quarterback playing well in the right offense to get the job done. I think Ryan Tannehill fits that. I think if that's what the Titans have set up, it works. But like I said, there becomes a problem if the coaches don't come in with the right mindset of, okay, we're going to put this on Ryan Tannehill because we think we can do it. I would rather go down swing with Derrick Henry. And that I'm very pro analytics. But when I look at that, I don't care what the numbers are. Just give the damn ball to Derrick Henry because I'd rather watch him get pulled down by 6 defenders than watch Ryan Tannehill throw it into 3 people down the field on the only throw that really mattered in that game. So that's where I'm at on Ryan Tannehill. And I don't even know if we're going to get to the other games. Which ones do we want to talk about? Because we're halfway through this bad boy. I guess if we're going to do a podcast later in the week, we can go full on coverage and not talk too much about the future. But which one do you guys want to hit first? I know we already hit Bears Saints. We talked about Nickelodeon. That's really the only important thing that happened in that game.
Well, I do want to bring up one more point about that game. I have to point this out because this is important. We talk about system quarterbacks. The more we think about it, we have to understand that SpongeBob is a system cook. SpongeBob is a product of the Krabby Patty system. Without the secret formula, he's nothing. He's nothing. Let's just put that out there right now.
Put the ball in Squidward's hands every day.
If you got the
no better option.
Oh, thank you.
Hey, if Washington has the Heineke, does Pittsburgh or Tennessee have the O'Douls?
They got the Heinz.
They got the Heinz.
Heinz.
Not a single good joke in the bunch. Jesus Christ, guys. No.
I do want to put this out there for Heineke. Does anyone actually think that he's going to be starting anywhere next year, or is this? I think it's just a good
No,
we lost Bobby again.
good feeling anywhere next year.
I want everybody to just assume that what we couldn't hear from Bobby right then was him cursing. I think very quickly NFL Twitter has already evolved. I think the very quick conversation was, damn, he just earned himself a Chase Daniel contract. Like that game was worth being a backup quarterback in the league for the next 7 years. And that's worth a lot of money. Chase Daniel has made millions of dollars off of it. So feel good story, really good. But yeah, no, I think the moment you start to feel that, the question is any team dumb enough to do it? Because that has been the case. Nick Foles won himself a Super Bowl. He got 2 contracts, got 2 teams to make that dumb decision. There's been a lot of guys who have done less than what Tyler Heineke did in that game that have gotten themselves into a role. At least they got paid. I think of Matt Flynn. I guess he didn't actually get the starting job, but they gave him the money for it. And they're like, yeah, Russell's better than you in practice. We're dumb enough to think you were the quarterback, and we could still see that. So sorry, Matt, go sit down. There's bound to be a team dumb enough. I just don't know which team that is. We'll have to see. It's wherever Jason Garrett ends up will probably be where Tyler Heineke will start a game next. But that game is an interesting one to turn to. Just watching it and knowing that there's a good defense. Tyler Heineke obviously played a ridiculously good game. They started to get enough of the pieces back. But to be that close, to have been nearly knocked out And then now for Tampa Bay the next week, heading to face the Saints team that's already clapped them twice. How much is that like win for the Buccaneers actually kind of a negative, because you should not have had that much trouble putting down the Washington Fighting Riveras?
As a lifelong Bucs fan of one season, maybe 2 seasons, depending on if Brady retires or not, I've been saying it since that the clapping 2.0 for the Bucs against the Saints, where they absolutely just got smoked.
Bob is going to have to get some new internet.
Yeah.
All right, I think I need new internet, guys.
Yeah, we just said that. New
yeah. Yeah, sorry, AT&T. You guys are getting canceled soon. That's a true fact. I pay.
It might just be the computer. You might need to upgrade, man.
Man, this is like a fancy 2-in-1. This is a Dell.
He's saying things that he thinks are like positive and impress people. It's like he just admitted to buying like a shitty $500 computer and pretending.
Get a Mac. Get a Mac.
Next thing I'm going to redo my iPhone, but no. Oh, am I cutting out again?
Nope.
No, we hear you.
We heard all the nonsense. Keep going.
Yeah, we heard you're going to upgrade your phone. Okay,
there we go. Bobby's back. Maybe I will be getting a new laptop with that stimmy money, but who cares?
Yeah, get an Apple.
It's so on brand. I will never get an Apple computer. I will never get another iPhone. We're moving on from that point.
Oh man,
perfect. We'll go on to the other people. Justin, you've been a big fan. You were rooting for Washington to win that division. I almost pulled out another one. That would have been 2 for 2 on my long-term bets. Of I said that the Giants would be the team that could pull it out with the schedule the way it was, but Washington held on. They pulled through and got into the playoffs. But with that game, as much as you wanted them to be there, as much as a feel-good story, I assume that just shuts off as soon as Alex Smith isn't able to suit up. But when you look at that game, is that a game that takes away from what you think the Bucs are capable of, with them having such a hard time putting Washington out of the playoffs?
Yeah, a little bit. That is pretty concerning that you can't put away a team that only won 7 games and barely won the worst division in NFL history by far. Let's see what happens, because it's hard to beat a team 3 times in a season. But this is a road game for.
Is it hard to beat a team 3 times in a season?
Well, you rarely don't you kind of rarely see it though?
I think you rarely see a team sweep another team and then have to face them again. But in terms of who wins when that matchup happens, I think in the last there's 3 in the last like 11 years. You have like the Steelers back in like 08 or 09 beating the Ravens. There was I'm trying to think, Saints, Panthers, maybe like 2015. I feel like there's another one near the 2010 mark where there was another one. So there's been 3 times.
Packers, Bears, maybe Packers, Bears, like 2000.
Bears don't make the playoffs.
Yeah, they did the Jay Cutler
this year
injury championship.
This year was an extra team. They cheated. The point is, it's happened enough times, and there's like the idea that it's hard to get that 3rd one. I don't think it's there. It's like it's hard to sweep a team, and it's rare that you end up facing a team that you swept that made the playoffs as well, and then you end up facing them. But the moment you get there, if you're the better team, it's not like that other team's going to magically figure out a way to beat you. It is football. It's any given Sunday. You can figure out how to do it, and we've seen. This is a Buccaneers team that beat the crap out of the Packers. We know that they have high-end firepower, and on their best day, they can do a lot. But this is a Saints defense that is going to give Tom Brady fits again. Tom Brady had his worst loss against the Saints the last time he faced them. It was a 38-3. Like, I don't know what even the Saints just kind of like having a lukewarm win over the Bears. I still feel like they played down to their opponents, but have a defense that does what it needs to do. And on offense, the Buccaneers have not shown recently that defense can slow down what Drew Brees does. Drew Brees will be able to slice and dice. Alvin Kamara is going to be able to pick up yards and score them touchdowns. I just looking at it, there's a chance. I'm not ruling it out. I don't think it would surprise me if Tampa Bay won, but I look at Saints as the clear favorite here, and I don't have much faith that they're going to find a way to magically win just because they had to do it 3 times in a year. Marco,
he muted and left on that one. I'm with you. I'm agreeing with you. Tampa Bay. You struggled to, we knew they were gonna have problems against that Washington defense because of who they were this season. But yeah, the fact that you your defense didn't look so well against Tyler Heineke, led offense. It's not, if you're a Tampa Bay fan, you're not feeling as confident going on the road and having to go into New Orleans. And like you said already, you pointed out, they swept them this regular season in pretty good fashion, especially in the last meeting. But it's, out of the games this weekend, you gotta think that the Buccaneers are the biggest no, I lied, because the Browns are playing the Chiefs, but they're right there as the underdogs. It's hard to see. Especially once again, the Tampa Bay offense, we saw them struggle again to get started, to get something started. And the Bears defense managed to keep the Saints close through a first half. It'll be curious to see. It's going to be a game of chess. If not, the Saints are, like you said, they got better weapons. And who knows if Ronald is going to play this week for the Buccaneers as well. It's a curious matchup. I'm interested to see because of who you have at the quarterback position going after it against each other, because Tom Brady's more than the quarterback. He is a coach on that team. He is the leader of that offense. It's going to be fun to watch. I think it's going to be it's going to be one of those where you don't know, but it's going to be second there to watch. It's going to be entertaining because it's old school football, literally with old school head coaches.
All right. So I wouldn't describe Sean Payton as an old school head coach, and Bill Belichick.
I was just calling him old there. That was just a knock on him. No old school coach gets slimed.
Bill Belichick has taught Tom Brady to be a person who pretends to be old school, but is really very focused on following the numbers, making the right play. And if Tom Brady is truly the new coach on the field, and Bruce Arians. If I have to figure out whether it's going to be Sean Payton beating Bruce Arians, I'll go Sean Payton every single day. Yep. If I have to figure out if Sean Payton's going to beat Tom Brady, I have a few more questions. But I would say that I don't see the path there being like, I feel like with the Saints, they just feel underwhelming this year. They feel like what the Steelers ended up actually being, they just don't feel like a juggernaut despite their record showing it, despite just keep piling up wins. And then with the Steelers, we saw it kind of fall apart. Well, Drew Brees lost a lung, and Taysom Hill just starts being the quarterback, and they still win. Like, at this point, you just have to recognize that team is built better than almost any other team. Like, even if the Chiefs are the front runner, the Saints are the best team, talent, top to bottom. The question is if they have that high-end gear. We've not seen that very often this year. So if Tom Brady can come in and get the Bucs rolling, then it's a question mark. Then it becomes what happens here, because we haven't seen the Saints need to keep pace with a team like that. I just don't know if the Tampa Bay will be able to do that against the Saints defense. Bobby, you're our number one guy in terms of Tom Brady. You're the one who has watched him long enough. You should know what he's capable of doing. But I also don't want to give you a couple minutes to talk about this game. I want to move on. If you're picking this game, I haven't looked at a spread. What would you need to bet on the Buccaneers? Like, what would the spread need to be for you to jump in on it?
Well, I'm going to put a computer's money worth of whatever I need to bet on. I think it's the Bucks +3. Even my dog is excited about this bet. And before I cut out real quick, it's not chess versus chess. Bruce Arians only plays checkers. It's only downfield passes. Let's be honest.
Tom Brady's curved it, though. Tom Brady has gotten more of what he wants, his looks in. So that's the point I was trying to make earlier. Is like, who's going to be in more control? Is Tom Brady just going to get to do what he wants? Because when that happens, I trust it a little bit. If it's Bruce Arians, it's checkers, and I don't expect them to do very much to find a way to get that victory.
But any Bucks +3.5 or even +3, I'm putting a nice sized ranch house on it.
Man, you got a lot of houses to put up.
Wow.
You're going to make a lot of money this weekend. Moving on to the next game, let's talk Rams Seahawks. This is a good one because holy crap! Like, I think we all saw the numbers trending down for Russell Wilson. Obviously, the second half of the year was not nearly as good as that first half of the year when he was a MVP frontrunner. And we also saw the Rams in many situations, find a way to use that defense. And now we're to a point of the year where that's like clearly the best defense left in the playoffs. Like, I think maybe the Browns are like second, and it's a distant second. I guess Saints maybe is second, but it's Rams by and large, because not only do they have a defense that is shutting down good offenses and getting them wins when let me stop to figure out who is the quarterback for the Rams. Wofford for a tiny bit, and then Goff comes in. If your defense can get you through that, and I know Cam Akers, it was good that they had him healthy finally, because if they didn't have him, then it still wouldn't have mattered. They would have lost to the Seahawks. But that's a really good Rams defense as you start to get that running game figuring itself out again. If Goff is just healthy enough, that's a scary team. That's going to be a tough out there. So I just have to wonder, when you see what the Rams were capable of, do you think that changes whether the Rams have a shot of taking down the Packers, who have been the clear front runner in the NFC for a while now? And we'll start with maybe Bobby. No, we just did Bobby. We'll go Bobby.
Bobby's back. Bobby's back. I'm gonna keep it real quick before I cut out again. I would be very interested in whoever the Rams are playing. Then I saw they were playing the Packers. I said, okay, I don't care. The Packers win.
Yeah, that's quick. Bobby's being efficient here. That's really good stuff. More efficient than Jared Goff. Marco, when you look at that game, does that interest you at all? Do you think the Rams have proven themselves enough on defense to even just be intriguing about what this team can do to try to slow down that Packers offense with Aaron Rodgers, Davante Adams, who earlier you guys had said that clearly Stephon Diggs was the hottest wide receiver. Davante Adams might be the best wide receiver and also be the hottest wide receiver. So when you have all of that on that Packers offense, can that Rams defense matter, or is this just going to be that, the offense, that's the game now, and it doesn't really matter what the Rams are able to do to a Seahawks team? This Packers team is just going to have too much firepower for them.
It's maybe for a quarter or half. I see the Rams defense possibly coming out and jumping on the Packers early in this one, but no, not necessarily. Aaron Rodgers is playing at a peak level, and you just mentioned Davante Adams, who was a receiver that slipped our minds earlier. Because you are absolutely right. He's having a hell of a season as well this year at the wideout position. Is this the first game of the divisionals? Is this a Saturday afternoon one? Because if so, then there's a reason. There's a reason for that, because this game will probably be a second half blowout. Yes, it is. Okay, yeah, there's a reason for that. It could be a second half blowout for the Packers in this one. And if you're Green Bay, you got to send a thank you basket to Pete Carroll for what he did last week. Incredible coaching job. Hell of a guy coming out. You just got to love it.
All right, Justin, how do you feel about this matchup?
Yeah, I'm going to be really quick. Just like you guys, Rams have a chance on defense. They've proven themselves. They're really good, but you're facing the potential MVP of this league and Rodgers. He's on fire. But let's point out something. I know this has been years ago. The last time he won league MVP, they were 15-1. They didn't go all the way. They lost early in the playoffs, which I believe they lost in the divisional round, if I'm not mistaken. So
Atlanta, yeah.
Huh? Yes,
Atlanta.
Yeah, that's right. They lost to the Falcons, and so anything's possible. But I'm gonna stick with the Packers in this one. I think it's just too much Green Bay, too much Rodgers, too much Davante Adams, the Adams family, to quote Chris Berman from NFL Primetime. I think plus, I mean, Lambeau Field's a really tough place to play. I know there's been no fans there. At least I don't know if they're going to bring any people in for the game. I know Buffalo finally did it, so maybe Green Bay will finally bring their fans in. It'll be a little tougher for the opposing team, but I'm going with Green Bay in this one.
All right. Well, I'm the last one on there. I would never bet against the Packers winning this, but I'm definitely intrigued by seeing. It's not even just what the Rams have on defense; it's that they are playing this way at this part of the year, and if they can cook up what it takes to beat the Seahawks, it doesn't matter how much the Seahawks were trending down. You can't walk into a game with Wofford going after the start, and your savior is Jared Goff with a broken thumb. If you pull that off, that has restored my faith in Sean McVay for a little while longer, and I want to see, before I just decide that clearly the Packers are going to win, I want to see what he can dial up, because the Packers' huge benefit of moving on from Mike McCarthy, getting Matt LaFleur in there. But we need to see what Matt LaFleur does when he's facing another guy who has experience coaching in the playoffs. Will he put them in the right position? And if Marco's right, if this is something where the Rams defense keeps you in it for a half, that's the type of thing that in the playoffs can be enough to get you in position to win. Where in the regular season, maybe you don't tighten up as much. But if the Rams can keep this game close, the longer it goes, instead of it just being the Packers slowly start to pile on and pull away, that's more times that Aaron Rodgers has to sit back there longer. And if Aaron Rodgers, as good as he played this year, if he starts going back to some of his old habits right now, he doesn't have the athleticism that he used to, and Aaron Donald will find him. He will find him trying to scramble away. That's a bad sign for the Packers. So I am interested in this game. I think with the 6.5 points, I might throw money down on the Rams side just to see what happens. But I wouldn't expect the Rams to win. I am excited to see what goes down in that game on Saturday.
We can also just point out one more thing. Rams only have a chance on defense if Aaron Donald plays.
If you don't have Aaron Donald yet, because there's not a way to make that work. Like, even right now, like, as good as Jalen Ramsey is, we've seen games where Jalen Ramsey is shut down, DK Metcalf multiple times. We've seen him take top targets out. But there was a game where DK Metcalf did get the 3 receptions and got him the touchdown. He held him for most of the game, but broke out. It's going to be hard for Jalen Ramsey to shut down Devontae Adams. Plus, Aaron Rodgers has shown he'll get the ball out to other people. The game changer is always Aaron Donald, because that changes how you call plays. There is only so many things you can do in a game when Aaron Donald is able to break double teams and get to you. When every play, that he's going to find a way to get in the backfield, and that's going to constantly be breaking down the pocket. Rodgers has to constantly move. And while Rodgers is comfortable doing that, that is also where Rodgers ends up making his mistakes when he relies on it too much. So you need Aaron Donald, and without that, the Rams, they don't have enough offensive firepower to keep up with a Packers offense that's rolling. But I have to wait and see if the Packers offense will be able to do that against a Rams defense playing lights out right now. So that should be a fun one. We mentioned it, we've talked around it, but when Lamar Jackson is spoke about in the way that Bobby did, just for Shane Jackson's sake, who is feeling ill today, he's sitting at home watching this. I can't be the one who just lets Bobby statement stand. We have to talk about Ravens Titans, because in a game where he does make the comeback, he gets the victory. He makes a bad throw early in the game, but towards the end of the game, like, Lamar Jackson also made plays down the field to get them back into the game. He had to make throws. Help that he can run 60 yards and score a touchdown, but he still to say he's a good running quarterback or a good running back, Bobby, it's blasphemous. But I'm going to let you lay out your argument first, and then we'll have 3 people yell at you, because that's the way this podcast works. Bobby, tell me why you saw something different than everybody else who watched Lamar Jackson win his first playoff game and do it in a multitude of different ways, not as a running back.
I didn't say he was a good running back. I said he was a fantastic running back. But Lamar Jackson is always going to be that quarterback where if he's going to win a playoff game, it's going to have to be low scoring. We're not acting like he blew the doors off the Tennessee Titans with his passing attack. I think he passed for like 250 or less, if I'm correct. He had a pick. Yeah, okay, yeah. Not even over 200 yards. So why are we talking about, like,
he is 7.5 yards an attempt.
This guy. All right, we're just going to move on from Bobby for this week. And then
all right, that means it's going to be that much easier to prove Bobby's wrong. obviously you can't just say the numbers. You can't be like, well, he threw for under 250 yards, which first of all, that's a dumb bitch mark for like what it takes to win a game. Like, you didn't throw for 250. You must not be a good quarterback. So there's like 3 good quarterbacks ever because no quarterback has passed for over 250 yards every postseason game. Lamar Jackson is, if he throws for 170 yards, he had the interception, didn't have a touchdown to even it out, but he did break off that huge run to end up scoring. When you put up 136 rushing yards, that comes into it. Like that's the way you have to judge a quarterback who is capable of running with his legs. Now, that doesn't mean because he runs for 100 yards that anything he does as a thrower is just, fine. Like, you can critique it, but he was 17 of 24, 179 yards, 7.5 yards per attempt. His QBR, which, however you feel about it, I feel like it's 100% better than QB rating, even if it's still an imperfect metric, 84.6. So he had a fantastic game, even counting that interception. And when you add in what he's able to do on the ground, running 136 yards and a touchdown, that's a great game. And I don't know how you walk away from that thinking, okay, this is a good time to have the laziest dig saying he's a fantastic running back. But Marco,
before I cut out again,
all you want. Tell me how you guys feel about Lamar Jackson's performance. Did he get that monkey off? I think my biggest hot take is we should have never had a conversation about he can't win a playoff game when he is 24 and he's only had 2 seasons, one of which he got to start halfway through the year, taking over for Joe Flacco. So did you guys feel like Lamar Jackson proved something in that win over the Titans? We'll start with Marco. We'll get to Justin, and Bobby will never get to talk again.
All right, Bobby's back real quick. I'm not fearing Lamar Jackson. He is who we thought he was. He's a fantastic running back, athlete, however you want to say it. He's a mid-level thrower. But to your point, he's 24. Why were we talking about this was like Steve Young taking over for Joe Montana and needing to win a Super Bowl?
Yeah. I mean, I agree with the last thing you said. The other thing, he's what we thought. You were the only one. You and other people who may have stormed the Capitol thought that Lamar Jackson was a fantastic running back and nothing else. Hey, that's my best dig at you right now, Bobby. It felt really good.
Don't put me in that category. That's
don't say nonsense then, and I won't have to put you in the category.
That's fucked up. Don't put me with the Trump people.
I'm just saying.
That's beyond fucked up.
It's pretty fucked up to have an MVP quarterback that you're saying is a fantastic running back. So you figure your shit out, Bobby, and I'll figure out mine. The point is, Lamar Jackson had a hell of a game. Does that mean he can come in this next week and get the job done, beating the Bills? Can he make it to the conference championship game? If he does, it will be from running. But I think seeing the way the game has changed, seeing that every quarterback in the game now, except for these old dinosaurs that are holding on at 40, Drew Brees and Tom Brady, and only one of them is going to get an advance. You have to run the football. You have to be capable of running the football. And in Lamar Jackson's case, the Ravens are at the best when they run. In terms of passing, the only argument you make is he's not an elite passer. But when you're comparing him to other quarterbacks in the league, it's not like he's below average. And when you can run like he does, you only have to be slightly above average. When Lamar Jackson is on, he is even higher than that. He is below elite, but he can throw down the field. He can make connections with Marquise Brown. He made some amazing throws. And I think the only thing is aesthetics when you're watching him. He looks like he's casually throwing the ball on passes. You expect him to put more arm strength on it. If putting more arm strength means he's going to throw interceptions, if it means he's going to get himself out of his mechanics, then he just has to live at that. He has a only slightly above average arm strength, and he's facing a bunch of really good quarterbacks who have elite arm strength. That's going to be tough for him to win. It's going to be tough to beat Josh Allen. It's going to be tough to beat Patrick Mahomes. But when you can run like he does, you're in every single game. And we're not going to keep painting it as a negative for Lamar Jackson. That's why he won the MVP. That's why he's as good as he is. And that's why the Ravens have the chance to beat any team that's in the AFC. So, Justin, we'll jump to you. You were another one who I don't even know what your feeling is on quarterbacks anymore. I don't know who's good, who's bad. What was your opinion on Lamar Jackson going in, and did it change at all watching him get that first playoff victory?
So listen, Mac, I mean, you're absolutely correct about Lamar Jackson. His running ability gives the Ravens a chance to beat anybody on any given day. I mean, absolutely. But can we see him try to face an elite defense in the playoffs and get his first win? I'm sorry. Facing a horrible, horrendous Titans defense that apparently Mike Vrabel had a lot of faith in, and reason why he wanted to punt the ball on 4th and 1? And didn't want to go for it. Did 2? Okay, yeah, thank you, Marco, for that. So I want to see Lamar Jackson face better competition as far as facing the defense. I mean, it'll go down in the record books as his first playoff win, but give me something better than facing a horrendous Titans defense, because that Titans defense – early on, they were containing him pretty well, but then they broke down. And that's no surprise, because all year they have had the worst pass rush in all the NFL. I think they had, 15 sacks all year as a defense, something like that, the worst in the league. And it's just not going to get it done against a team like the Ravens with Lamar Jackson. So facing maybe not the Bills, but maybe if they would face the Chiefs, who are better defensively than both the Bills and not the Ravens, but Titans, excuse me. Maybe we'll see a little more a better chance of Lamar Jackson, but I don't know. I'm not convinced that was the not outcoming party for Lamar Jackson in the playoffs. But you're correct. They can beat anybody on any given day with his ability.
And Titans defense is not very good. That's the nicest way to say it. And knowing that you're the only way to win is offense. You're going to face a team like the Ravens, who picking up first downs constantly, able to take advantage of your weaknesses on the defensive side. You have to go for it on that 4th and 2 situation.
Yes.
You can't skip that. So, Bobby, I know you hate punters, you hate kickers, you hate anything involved in that. So we'll go to you real fast. Are you more offended by Mike Tomlin's decision to punt, or Mike Vrabel's just the most cowardly punts of the year, all happening on Super Wildcard weekend? We'll lose you, Bobby.
Oh, sorry. Me and my Trumpers.
That's the end. That's the only thing we're going to play. It's him saying, try to be self-deprecating, but we didn't get the sarcasm at the end. So it just sounds like he's admitted to it. That's great. Bobby.
Yeah, I was going to say, you guys are just a bunch of Antifa members and you're hacking my computer. I'm trying to get back on Parler over here and talk about our glorious leader, Trump. But yeah, are we talking about hating kickers? Why do we even talk about kickers? Kickers don't matter. But didn't
his team win a Super Bowl off a kick?
All right, bye guys. I'll see you next week. Bye guys.
So basically, that was fun. I'm glad the last thing about it. I was hoping he'd get a rebuttal. I forgot his bad internet connection. So Bobby is not a Trumper, but the only other person I've heard keep saying Lamar is a fantastic running back skews that way. So it felt good to make fun of Bobby a little bit there. But we'll go to Marco for the punts. Which one is worse? Because, like I said, I think the way I view it is that Steelers is pretty much unforgivable, but you're also in such a losing situation. The same reason that everything's on the table is the same reason it's hard to hold anything against somebody. It's like, well, you already lost that damn game, so I don't know why you punted. Titans are in the middle of, trying to pull out this win and to just punt it away and considering how often, it's like I think we saw both teams in worse situations go for it. And you're just like, there's no rhyme or reason to what you're deciding here. Like it's not about field position. It's not about this. All it is in that moment, you made a snap judgment that showed cowardice. Like in terms of the football world, like you have to be aggressive. You have to make that decision. And I don't understand, particularly guys like Mike Vrabel, who they're willing to do fake punts. It's like when you do those type of things, those are more risky and make less sense than just saying this is 4th and 2 in a situation where even if we don't make it, we are far enough down the field, and the field position battle, that's not going to do us as much as having a 50% chance of making this right here. Go for it. So which one of those did you think was the worst offense? I'm leaning to Titans. I think it was in the most important moment and very bad decision making by Mike Vrabel.
Yeah, I thought at the end of the game that Mike Vrabel coached this game into, he pretty much coached it into a losing situation. Like, if he's an analytics guy, then he was going the route that had the lowest % chance of winning the game or tying it. And like you guys said, the Titans defense, no secret, is that they're not as good as they were last year. If you want to call them, even then the defense was
last
good.
year. They were pretty good because they had Dwayne Casey, who went to the Denver Broncos. That was the biggest loss in my mind.
And they had to go out and get someone like King at the cornerback position this year. It's I put that game on the shoulder of Mike Vrabel. If you're so confident to say that you're willing to chop off your man part for a Super Bowl, then what the hell are you willing to do to win a wild card game? Obviously, not go for it on 4th and 2. You're not doing any help for your defense on that side of the football. It was bizarre because it's like he just went against everything. It went against this whole coaching philosophy that he put out there against us. So I like the word that you use, Mac. I like that you use cowardness because you're right. It was time for a gut check, and Mike Vrabel lost all. He doesn't have an intestine anymore or something. It's like it's gone or something. But it was weird. It was not something that you would expect to see from this Tennessee Titans team, like you said, with Derrick Henry, especially at the running back position. If I was a Tennessee Titan fan, I would be more upset at the head coach. Kind of like how some of the blame was put on Pete Carroll for his play calling. That's exactly what had happened in this one.
Big shocker on that one.
Right. But fellas, I gotta get ready for work, unfortunately, and I gotta take a WAS. So I'm out too as well. All right. Thanks, Mac.
See you, Marco.
All right. Thanks for coming, Marco. And Justin, I want to hit yours, but we didn't hit the Colts. I think that was like the inverse of it, being they made decisions that the analytics crowd, the numbers, that's the way to go. Obviously, the announced team was not happy with that. When you look at the Colts' decision making, particularly trying to go in for the touchdown in the red zone, not taking the points, and we heard a lot this weekend chasing the points. So I'll let you go, and we'll see if we have to battle over this. But how did you feel about the decisions the Colts made and how that ended up affecting their game against the Bills?
Terrible. It was awful. I mean, you're right there. It's 4th and goal. You're on the cusp of getting into the end zone. You've got a really good O-line. You've got a stud running back in rookie, what's his face from Wisconsin, Taylor. Keep the ball out of the hands of Phillip Rivers because you know he's going to make a mistake. Just give it to your back. I mean, it's that simple and easy. The Bills' defense is honestly not as good as past years. I know Leslie Frazier has done a better job of getting his crew playing better recently, but they're not as good. And the Colts, like I said, have one of the top O-lines in the league, and you got a stud running back. I mean, it's not rocket science. That was a terrible decision.
So I guess the main for me is not so much the play call. I mean, obviously, I think a lot, particularly where you have 3 passes with Phillip Rivers, or I guess they did the first one too. So they completed the first one, but 3 incomplete passes at the beginning of the game. Score. More the decision, I think people were very upset, and the announcers were talking about going for it on the 4th instead of taking the 3 points. Did you think that it was just the wrong play call, or
actually
deciding to not kick the field goal there?
Oh, actually, I had the wrong opinion there. Actually, what I really wanted to say was they should have just taken the 3 points instead of just going for it. That's what I really wanted to say. I mean, you're trying to hang in the ball game, and you really should be trying to do whatever you can to keep the ball out of the hands of Phillip Rivers, because you know what he's going to do. The guy can't win big games for the life of him. I mean, it's weird to say, but it's the truth, and we've seen it throughout the years, whether he was in San Diego or later in LA with the Chargers and now with the Colts. And it doesn't matter, rain or shine, or you're playing with the I don't know, whatever kind of weather, whatever kind of environment, he's going to do something stupid, and he's going to cost his team the game. And I would have taken the 3 points to give yourself a chance to hang around with, yes, a high-powered offense like Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah, I just disagree. I think
that's fair.
I don't think just stop kicking field goals. Like literally, at the end of that game, if every possession they decided don't kick a field goal, go for it. Like you have these fourth down plays where you probably have a 50% chance on something because it's fourth and short. Like if you go for it, you have 50% chance. You keep the drive going.
Right.
That's three different possessions that. Maybe you don't make it. Maybe you don't score a touchdown. But if you even score once on any of those possessions, you did more than they did because they didn't make the field goals they took. Like, it didn't matter that they're kicking it because the kicker didn't make it. Like, you lost possessions that you just decided we're going to kick a field goal here, and you make one of them, so you get 3 points. If you're telling me that on those 3 possessions, if you just decided before it started, this is 4 downs. We're doing everything it takes to score a touchdown. We're not punting. We are going to keep going for it every single time. I guarantee you that team makes at least 1 touchdown and has more points put on the board than they did before that. Like, I'm not saying you can never kick field goals, but when you're looking at these teams, I think it is just as cowardly. And I think that in this case, the Colts made the right decisions. They might have made a lot of bad play calls in terms of when you were that close and Jonathan Taylor is playing the way he's playing. Don't let
Jonathan
throw the ball away a bunch. Like, put it in his hands, let him truck some people over, see what you get. But in terms of going for it on fourth down, like, unless you are outside of the 20-yard line, like you are too far back to, at like 40 yards, you can't kick it. If you're outside of your kicker's range, up to the 20, you can kick a field goal if you're on like 4th and 5. Like, that's fine. But everything else, you have a better advantage. It makes more sense to go for it because worst case scenario, they are in a normal starting field position of where you're putting offense if you turn the ball over. If you get that first down, your chances of scoring and your chances of winning increase so much more than you trying to kick a field goal, which, once again, even if you have a good kicker, Justin Tucker missed. Like,
right.
We just watched Justin Tucker miss a field goal. Like, you can't put it on your kicker to win. If it's to get you a tie, if it's to get you a lead late in the game, that's when you can take a field goal with, even if you got stopped at like the 12-yard line or something. But any other time, once you get into the 20 and you're getting 4th and shorts, like, you have to go for it because the numbers suggest it. And it's just showing you don't have faith in your team to go and pick that up. And it's one thing to send the offense out there, do a fake snap count, think you're going to get an offsides penalty. But that's one of it. That's one way to get them. Try to get them to jump. Then go for it. They might hold. They might commit pass interference. There are so many ways to end up getting the first down. And you are letting the defense off the hook. You're letting your opponent off the hook if you're going to settle for field goals and not try to do what you can to get those first downs in situations where the numbers say it makes more sense.
So normally I am an aggressive by nature kind of person in that situation. I would go for it too, but there's just something about Phillip Rivers. If it was Andrew Luck or Peyton Manning or John Unitas under center for the Colts, just naming off some legendary Colts quarterbacks that were way better than Phillip Rivers, I would feel a little more comfortable with that situation. But
there were playoff games that Andrew Luck win than Phillip Rivers.
Okay, fair point there, but still, and like you said, and I mentioned it earlier, you can just hand it off to your stud running back too. I mean, that's give the ball to a running back behind, as I said earlier too. I mean, you got Nelson, you got Costanzo, you got others in that supporting cast of that O-line. It's the best O-line in the league. It's not that hard.
The line in the league is the Packers, but Colts are close.
That's true.
I think, once again, as much as I like ragging on Phillip Rivers, I still think that the idea that he can't be the one who picks it up, like, maybe he blows games. Then that gives you more incentive to earlier in the game take those shots in those moments. don't wait and don't try to play for a tie, because Phil Rivers supposedly is the guy who's going to throw an interception, although we've watched other players make the mistakes for the Colts, and we still half the time still attributed to Phil Rivers. Apparently, he just gives them bad mojo. But you got to give him as many chances early on. So if that's the way to win, then let Phillip Rivers go, crazy. Or when you're in those situations, give it to the running back, but remain aggressive. Phillip Rivers being the quarterback should not be the thing that stops you from making the right play call. The right play call is to go for it. Punting. You pretty much should never punt unless you are deep in your own territory, or that's it. That's the beginning of it. Like, never punt. Like 4th and 5, I guess. That's the cutoff for me. I understand the numbers actually say it's probably 4th and 4, but any 4th and 3, unless you are so deep in your own territory that it's not worth the risk, like
you go for it.
You got to go for it. Like, and the numbers suggest it. The results that we were watching, like when it happened, suggest it. The fact that there are so many coaches so scared of making that move, and the only good reasoning for not doing it is the backlash they get from the media and the fans and whatever for not doing that, and it fails, which nobody's like, there's not enough people holding them accountable for when they're conservative and it fails, So that's outside of what makes sense on a football field. It's not because it's a bad move to be aggressive there. It's because of the perception. If you're making decisions based on perception, you shouldn't do them. The only one who needed to make a decision based on perception and didn't do it went the other way, Doug Peterson. He got fired. He might have been the only one. Perception-wise, might have made sense. Like, okay, we got a better draft pick, but now nobody on my team trusts me. My quarterback, who we can't get rid of, hates me, and I'm out of a job. He might have wanted to make a decision based on perception.
And on top of that,
he'd probably take back his move. Everybody else, don't make decisions based on perception. Do it based on what's the best thing for this team. And that is generally being aggressive. Don't waste opportunities. Punting's bad. That's my TED Talk, folks.
Oh, that's absolutely fair. And also, I want to point out too. Now, I don't want to say the Colts were a great 4th down conversion team, because I don't know what their stats were this year when it comes to 4th down conversions. But if you are a team, let's say the Baltimore Ravens, for example, because they love going for on 4th down all the time. That's what they do best. A lot of times is go for on 4th down. If you get a really high percentage, you've been really successful at that, that's also another reason why you should go for it if you're really good at it.
Yeah, I mean, part of being good at it half the time is just deciding to go for it. Like doing it enough times for the stats to even out. There are very few teams that are significantly better than others at going for those conversions. Some of it's just having a better offense, but the Colts are an offense. Like that, as much as the defense has helped them, they are about getting first downs, particularly short yardage. They should be willing to go for it there. Phillip Rivers, as much as, you could say he's bad at the end of games or he's bad in the red zone, whatever, like he's moving the ball down the field for them. So why you wouldn't trust him to pick up a 4th and 3, you wouldn't. I think the Colts, they know that. They made those decisions. And just because the result didn't work out doesn't mean they're wrong. I think it didn't work in that game. We also watched it hella didn't work to be conservative in the Titans and the Steelers game. If I'm picking, I'd rather have the decision-making of what the Colts did and come up short than the Steelers and the Titans, who Titans were kind of in the game, but they didn't give themselves a chance to win. The Colts had a chance to win and came up short. The Steelers, obviously they got blown out and they nearly got back in the game. But even then, they found ways to not give themselves the best opportunity to get back into the game. I don't like that style of coaching. I think, honestly, every team should have some sort of timeouts and, just analytics guy on the sideline to tell them what the smartest strategy is. Because even really good coaches, like Mike Tomlin's a great coach. Vrabel has been really good so far. These guys make bad decisions in the moment. And we also see it. We see announcers in the moment say, I don't understand why that was. It's like plain as day, the numbers tell you it was a much better option to go in those situations. Even when it doesn't work, I don't care if Al Michaels isn't good at mathicals, but sorry, Al Michaels, it's just good football to play the numbers. Chasing points is a good thing because that's how you win football games.
That sounds more like Chris Collinsworth.
Well, Chris Collinsworth just sits there. He's very laid back about it. He lets Al Michaels say the wrong things over and over again, and then maybe Chris corrects him a tiny bit at the end. But
he did
we need more aggressive people. We need me yelling at Al Michaels in the middle of games and telling him why he's batshit crazy. But that's all I have for my sermon on analytics and how football coaches need to be a little bit better at those decisions. But I want to hit one last question as we get on out of here. So you get two options. Which one do you keep? We have Super Wildcard Weekend, which, in fairness, they just will keep. So that's kind of the basic answer. But if you had to pick one between that or having a game on Nickelodeon every Sunday, which one do you feel is more important to keep? Super Wildcard Weekend or a Nickelodeon broadcast?
I'm as much as I love SpongeBob and Nickelodeon.
Oh, it's an upset.
Yep, it is an upset. The Super Bowl. Hey, you said yourself, Mac. This has been the best weekend of football probably ever. I mean, you had 6 games in 2 days. You had 2 triple hitters of nonstop NFL action on Fox. You had on ABC, ESPN, and of course all the other Disney family networks. And then you had Nickelodeon. You had CBS. Just multiple outlets where you can watch football. Great football games. I'll take that any day. And this is a great format for the NFL to have 2 triple hitters on a weekend.
Yep. I think it's big. It also, I think, adds a incentive for the number one team in each conference, being the only one with the bye. I know we're getting a lot of backlash now where people are talking about Chiefs didn't play their starters in week 17. Like, is that going to be something where that layoff? Here's all these teams that lose after a bye. The last 6 Super Bowls have been between 2 teams that had a bye week. So whatever that idea is, maybe it's not completely sit down your starters in week 17, but clearly the bye week is the number one indicator of whether you can make it to the Super Bowl. And it has been 50-50. Pretty much you just have to get in that top 2. And while there is a big advantage to being the number one team with home field advantage, that number one team doesn't always make it to the Super Bowl. The number one thing has been get that bye week. So now having that where the Chiefs have the main advantage, the Packers have the main advantage, there's not another team that gets that 50-50 split there. I think that's just as important. But little did I know that Super Wildcard Weekend, adding that 7th team in each conference, best weekend of the year. That's true right now, and we'll see if next year if they can keep that momentum. Like I said earlier, weren't necessarily great games. It just was great to have 6 games happening over the course of 2 days.
So I do got a thing to say real quick about this whole thing with the Chiefs resting their players on week 17. For all those negative people out there about the Chiefs sitting their players, did you not see what happened to Devontae Baker, his broken femur? Do you want that to happen to Patrick Mahomes? Do you want that to happen to Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, or any other big name starter on this team? No. I mean, as much as it's going to, have maybe some kind of impact or rust on the players being out for 2 weeks, maybe almost 3 weeks, as much as that's going to be a factor, I'd rather have these guys healthy, rest up, and ready to go. I mean, you already accomplished what you needed to. You got the first round bye. You got the top best record in the league. What more did you have to really prove, to be honest? And have faith. Andy Reid is good off bye weeks. So I'm not that worried. I know we have to kind of wonder what opponents we have to play and face, but you know what? Have faith.
Yeah, and I would say, I mean, there's a difference between a bye week and having like basically 2 weeks off. And so I can understand the idea of get them out there for a series, run it like it's a preseason game and make sure they kind of avoid that rust. And then any potential freak injury, I mean, those things happen because you're playing the game of football. And, just as much chance it can happen week 17, it can happen at the very first play of a playoff game. So, you definitely get the benefit of not running. You don't want to like go out there and make them play week 17 when they don't have to. I would say that there's just enough evidence suggesting that there can be that rust factor with 2 weeks off that I would put him out there for a series, whatever the thing is. But I'm also not against it, knowing how well they do, knowing the benefits of the bye week. And I think that there's just not enough sample size for me to say for sure that rust is the reason those teams did bad versus there's a lot of factors. The hot team ends up being the one that ends up going into that game against them. There's a lot of things that end up happening that I need to see more on it. And now we'll have less numbers in the future because we'll just have that one bye week, one team with it. But I'm not as concerned about that. Like, I think the main thing is the matchup, and of the matchups, I think as good as the Browns did, I'm least scared of the Browns of those three teams.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And that's the other cool thing that happened. Having the lowest seed from a 3-game format made less of kind of this randomness where a number one team would have to face what is arguably the hottest team, when you have that, easily a team. I'm trying to think. I don't think that was even close to happening this year in terms of the hottest team, because the hottest team was the Bills. They were the number 2 seed in the AFC. In the NFC, the Packers facing, I don't think that the Rams are the hottest team necessarily. It's close. It's close though, because in terms of the defense, but they lost their quarterback, and so it still has the possibility. But this just feels like you're less likely to get that with the way that it's structured. So I'm hoping that the Chiefs win because I'm a Chiefs fan, but I also just love good football, and we got 6 games of it. I'm excited for the next 4 games, and I was excited to talk football today. So Justin, thanks for coming on. We got a tiny bit of national championship talk before we came on, so I saved that for our listeners. Sorry guys, next time we might actually start talking about college sports. We might talk about college basketball here soon, but that's all we got for this episode of Too Many Points on Tell Me More podcast. Later, folks.